I was just going to start at the quarterback position and basically say, I get it. The Justin Fields criticism, the questions that are being raised, I get it. The Indiana performance, if you go snap by snap by snap, was actually a good performance. He had 3 mistakes. The Northwestern was a different situation, didn't have his best receiver, and he was pretty harassed throughout that game consistently by the Wildcats. But I do have to say that the question marks maybe start there, and I can justify the 7-point spread, 7.5 points, based on, I think if these teams are firing on all cylinders and they're fully prepared and have played the same number of football and gotten in the same number of reps, I should say, then I think they're even. But I can see where Clemson's played a little bit better football against maybe more talented team at one point in this, or twice in the season with Notre Dame. And to start at the quarterback position, Steve, when we look at Trevor Lawrence being a constant and Justin Fields almost becoming a bit of a wild card to some people.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Trevor Lawrence, he's got the championship from 2 years ago and made the championship game last year. I think he's only got one loss as a starting quarterback, and that was to LSU in the championship game. So he's got all the credentials that you're looking for. He's got all the ability you're looking for. I mean, he can do everything. He had 366 yards, I think, total against Ohio State last year. But when you deconstruct the box score and you take out the 3 screen passes for 99 yards or whatever it was to ATN for 2 touchdowns and his 107 or so yards rushing, that takes a lot of Clemson's production out of there. The Buckeyes basically didn't allow Travis Etienne to beat them running the football, and they didn't allow Trevor Lawrence to beat them throwing the football to the wide receivers of the tight ends. They made Clemson beat Ohio State left-handed with the quarterback run and the screens. And we asked Kerry Combs yesterday about that, okay, you can lock down the run game like you always do a bang-up job against the passing game, which I think they'll be okay in that regard. But if you can't also stop the quarterback run, or at least contain it, and also have an idea about ATN in the pass game, because he's caught 44 passes this year in 11 games. That's an average of 4 per game. And you get him in the open field, he can go the distance at any time. So it is a mismatch to put one of Ohio State's linebackers on him. And getting back to what you're saying earlier, maybe they need to put a safety on ATN when he goes out for a pass, because he's going to run away from a lot of people. So they got a lot of problems trying to figure out how they're going to stop this team. And going back to Northwestern, my feeling was the 4-man rush up front was non-existent for the first half, and Peyton Ramsey had a pretty easy time of it, I think, in the first half. Then they dialed up some stuff in the second half, and the guys up front got it going, and they forced them into 3 second-half turnovers, and that game kind of turned on a dime. Well, if they can't get to Lawrence with 4-man pressure, he's going to stand in there and pick them apart. So I don't know. They got, as I said, they got some major issues here that they're going to have to deal with. I mean, Penix was one thing back with Indiana, and he had, an outstanding array of wide receivers to throw to. I don't think Clemson's receivers are quite on that level just yet. It's Amari Rogers and a bunch of young guys, it seems like, at wide receiver for them, since Ross didn't get to play this year for their injury and Higgins left for the NFL. But it's going to be a handful, I think, for this Ohio State secondary nonetheless. So it's kind of like pick your poison, I guess. How do you see Clemson trying to attack you? And I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting.
Since the 2 tackles have been so consistently dominant for the Buckeyes, looking at the outside pass rush, do we see any trends? I know it's only been 6 games and it's difficult to pick up on a trend, but in terms of players ready to maybe explode from that position, whether it's Zach Harrison, Tyreek Smith on down the line, Tony?
The trend that I see is Tyreek Smith always being about just this close to bringing the quarterback down and then the quarterback getting rid of the ball. And you wonder, will it ever happen for him? It reminds me of Jalen Holmes was the same way. He'd always be so close, but he did end up making some really big plays throughout his career, and Tyreek Smith has made some as well. But it was still just waiting because he's got a lot of talent, and he's just coming up short here and there. But he gets in the rotation. Jonathan Cooper has maybe 2 games left, and he came back for this, and he's had everybody's had a shortened season, and this isn't the season that anybody expected. But down to the end of it, he's played well. He's led the team well. But again, he's a guy that's always come up a little bit short in terms of the production angle. And those 2 guys need to step up. We know about Zach Harrison, and there's always questions like, why isn't he playing more and things like that. But I think Jonathan Cooper is the leader of that defensive line, and you need as much out of him as you can get, because you keep looking for, where are the sacks, where is this, where is that, and they do get pressure and they do create some havoc. But you would like to see the quarterback tackled 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage to set up a second and 18, and we don't get to see that much. But I do think there will be pressure, and then it gets to, how do you contain Trevor Lawrence, because he's really good on the on the outside as well.
The Clemson defense did that to Ian Book the second time around, where they certainly taught their defensive ends at what level they wanted to push the rush and contain the pocket to keep him in there. I'll start throwing out these questions, and anybody can jump in that wants to scarf them up here. David Greenshield, will we see Shaun Wade covering Amari Rogers?
No, I don't think so. I think that might have happened if the Ohio State has 2 outside corners that, in addition to Shaun Wade. I just don't think they can. There's nobody else to put there outside, so you have to keep Shaun Wade outside. I think it would be a good solution if there's another outside corner, but at this point, you go with Marcus Williamson. You try to help out. It's Clemson's passing strength against Ohio State's pass defense weakness, and so I think a lot of the game, while we know the game will be won in the trenches, that slot is going to be huge, and Marcus Williamson or whoever else they have helping him out needs to be ready.
The inferior team during bowl season certainly pulls out tricks to win, and I'm not calling Ohio State that. The media and Vegas has given them the underdog status, not necessarily what the talent would say, but Lucas is asking about, or basically he's making the statement about Ryan Day pulling out trick plays to beat Clemson. Of course, those have to be reserved. If you're relying on trick plays, then you're probably not prepared or feel prepared to and talented enough to win the game. But what trick plays could be out there?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of them running any trick plays. I mean, Ohio State got to 6-0 on the season for a reason. Ohio State scoring, 44, 45 points a game for a reason. I don't think you need to go out there and be doing a bunch of halfback passes. Then again, I don't know if Evan Spencer shows up and wants to throw a pass here, and in the Superdome, that seemed to work out just fine. But Ohio State was a pretty significant underdog to Alabama in that game. But I think Ohio State's offense, just based on what they do well, if they have all the pieces there, meaning Chris Olave, if they have all the pieces there, I think they're going to be able to move the ball against Clemson. I think it's really just going to come down to, here's the trick play I want to see. Put up 6 in the red zone. Don't put up 3. They can't let Brett Venables just bog them down when they get into the red zone and they're settling for 3. If Ohio State's able to have, whether it's just through good old-fashioned running with Trey Sermon, or, maybe they need to reintroduce Justin Fields to his tight ends, I think that there is plenty of opportunity there, and I don't think they need to get cute or whatever. I think they can just sit there and run their offense, as long as they run their offense and not dial it back to a page or 2.
I agree with Kevin. They don't have to do any special bells or whistles for this game. They just need to execute what they do best and stay with that. We saw some variations of some, I wouldn't call them even trick plays, just some unorthodox stuff. They ran a lateral to Garrett Wilson that he fumbled for a 7-yard loss. That was no good. They tried a screen pass from like the right hash over to the left sideline. It got blown up, like a 40-yard pass from side to side, basically. And Northwestern had sniffed it out. It was like a 3-yard loss. So I don't think trick plays are their bailiwick, to borrow a Tim May, our friend Tim May, Columbus Dispatch. Uh, that's not in their wheelhouse. That's not in their bailiwick. So I think that they need to do what they do best, and that's running the football and doing the play action pass off of that, and let Fields get comfortable. Let him hit some passes early in the game. He threw for 320 yards against a good Clemson defense last year. They start like 5 sophomores and 2 freshmen. I don't think this is the same defense they played against last year. Of course, I don't think either of these teams is as good as the teams they put on the field last year. But the 2 quarterbacks kind of bring the whole rest of the group along with them and make everybody else look so much better. But I don't know. I'm interested to see what Ohio State's got in mind, because they just need to do what they do best, and that's run the football.
Justin Fields said the thumb will be fine by Friday night. Ryan Day was very short in saying the thumb will be okay, and just how the way they said it kind of caught me off guard. Like, are you trying to convince us that everything is going to be fine? So that my ears kind of perked up. I'm just wondering if you guys think everything is on the up and up there.
I mean, last year it was about which brace he was going to wear. Was it going to be the big brace or the soft brace or whatnot? So, yeah, it did hit me a little bit there. I don't know. Maybe I just want to believe. Maybe I just want to believe that it's all good. Disney magic and all that good, happy horse, you know what. So, yeah, it was something that I caught there. But, again, I don't know how much of it really was his thumb and how much of it was he just had an awful game against Northwestern. And I just don't know where one starts and the other one ends.
David Greenshield believes that the backs and the tight end is underutilized in the passing game.
Well, I think that goes without saying. I think I don't know what happened with Fields in the last game, to be honest with you, other than he didn't have Chris Olave, who is his security blanket. No completed passes to the tight ends. I think Master Teague may have caught one pass before he went out. Julian Fleming was a pleasant surprise early, but then really didn't give him a whole lot after that. It was just like they were trying to force the ball into Garrett Wilson, and they basically abandoned the pass altogether once Trey Sermon started ripping off chunks in 10 and 15 and 20 yards apiece. And really that's all they needed to be doing. So, because Northwestern, after a while, had basically thrown in the white towel and couldn't handle the athleticism or the physicality at some point. So I think they need to test Clemson in that regard. But I do believe, again, as I said, they've got to get Fields off quick early. And I like what they did last week on the first play. They tried to throw an easy pitch and catch to Fleming, and it went off Fleming's hands. It was kind of outside of his body frame a little bit. Not sure who to blame on that. But, that's the right idea is let's get him 1-for-1 for 7 or 8 yards and get a young guy a catch and just kind of build on that as they go. And, we are in for what figures to me to be like a 3.5-hour war. We were watching the game. I was watching a game last night with Miami and Oklahoma State, the first game, and there was a lot of scoring in that game. But I looked at my watch, and it was like well past 9 o'clock, and they still had like 4 or 5 minutes to play in the game. And that's what we're in for, is like a 3-hour and 45-minute, 4-hour marathon, because just the way these games unfold now with the long timeouts and everything. And you really have to stay engaged, because it is just such a battle for such a long period of time, longer than any of these kids are used to playing this game. You don't practice for 4 hours. So that to me is a challenge, is keeping your team. And last year we saw it went down to the next to last play of the game, and Clemson had the interception and pulled it out. So that seems like it's entirely possible again this year.